studio is a very personal space where I can do whatever work I want to do without having to tear it down and clean it up when it's done. I have a lot of personal objects in my space. It's sort of like the way that I think the way that a cat creates a territory. It's kind of like a territory. My painting is very tactile and visceral. I'm painting because I love mixing paint. I like moving brushes around. I like the feeling of it and the smell and the feel of it. It's a sensual, visceral thing. And walking a brush across the palette, when it's glass, it kind of glides across it as if it were ice. And originally, when I first set this up, my paint going around the palette, they were little areas of paint. And I've had this particular palette such a long time that the paint has grown into like a ledge of its own. I think of it as archaeologically, the way we dig through many, many layers and eventually find our way to a Roman city. That's how this palette is, because, you know, archaeologically, and I find this fascinating, that the dust will settle over thousands and thousands of years, and eventually a city is covered. And there's something very poignant about that. I like a studio to be have a living quality to it. I have a hard time with the concept of working in a studio that's very empty and bare. I like to have life in the studio. I love plants. They're like old friends, and they don't talk when I'm working. You always want to get up and get some perspective on what you're doing. You want to see it from a distance, you want to see it smaller, you want to see it upside down, so you're looking at your composition. What happens is that your eye will adjust, and your eye will tell you that what you're doing is fine, and when you're looking in a mirror, you could be like, oh, you know, it's not fine at all. Something will be jumping, the drawing will be out of whack, the colors, the values on the colors can be jumping, and you'll see that suddenly fresh when you have a mirror. When I've finished a working session, I always turn my paintings upside down, so I won't be self-critical. I can't really see it. I only see it as an abstraction then. A painting should look good from any angle. If it doesn't look good in reverse, it doesn't work. Even though your intellect may tell you it does, it doesn't. I always wanted a dollhouse. It started as actually building a dollhouse. The dollhouse never got finished, but I started collecting little people. I made it a kind of an Isabella Stewart Gardner, like a manor house of artists, musicians, opera directors, opera singers, and I discovered sniper bidding on eBay, and I began bidding for these little items. And I think what I did was I created a little miniature fantasy world. And basically I filled up half my studio. I went as far as until I had no more room and I could hardly walk. And I believe that it has to do with the fact that objects carry a certain kind of a feeling. There's a sense in an interior that something's happened here. Lives have happened here. Objects kind of relate with each other, and there's a certain atmosphere, I think, that I'm after. And it actually has to do with the personality and character of parts of a room, and the aura involved in it that has a certain feeling that grabs me. I'm always attracted to, I think that there's a definite relationship between the interiors in my paintings and the interiors in the dollhouse, and the kind of interior that I would strive for in an ideal studio.